Now this time last year, with the S-Class, Mercedes-Benz India set a new benchmark for the luxury car market. This year they aim to do the same in the C segment with this, the all-new W205 C-Class, and what should be known in the coming years as the baby S-Class for more than one reason. The first reason is the styling. Look at the new C-Class from any angle and you know that it is a scaled-down S-Class. Be it the stunning taillights or the shoulder and the character lines or the LED headlamps with the eye-shaped projector lenses, they are all reminiscent of the S. The new C has the same DNA too, as the chassis is made from aluminium and steel, and that also means that the new car is much lighter than the older one. The new design is highly aerodynamic too. The lips, the aprons, the sealed wheel arches, the flat underbody, sharp wing mirrors and the lip spoiler, they all help the car achieve a drag coefficient of 0.24. So that makes this family sedan more slippery than my favorite sports car, the Nissan GTR. Of course, this aerodynamics is not going to really help the C-Class beat the GTR's top speed, but it still manages a healthy 235 km an hour. 0 to 100 sprint comes in 7.3 seconds, which Mercedes-Benz claims is best in class. We, however, managed the same sprint in 8 seconds. Compared to the older C200's 1.8-litre engine, this one gets a 2-litre milk. Power is about the same, about 185 PS, but the torque that has improved, it's about 300 Newton meters now. Now all this torque is available between 1200 to 1400 RPM, that's pretty low. So you don't really feel that turbo lag anywhere. You have all that torque going right from the moment you step on the throttle. You don't really need to wait for that torque surge to come in. This engine is mated to an improved 7-speed dual-clutch transmission. Now on part throttle, the shifts are quite quick, but when you step on the throttle, it does take a while to register and then make the right gear change. This new engine also lets you select different driving modes through this little button called the Agility Select on the center console. It will let you cycle through various modes like Eco, Comfort, Sport and Sport Plus. And as you start moving towards the sportier options, it will make changes to the way the engine responds, the shift points they move higher. However, unlike the car that we drove in France, this one doesn't get an Airmatic suspension, so there are no changes to the suspension setup. So all that's affected is the steering response or the weight of the steering wheel, the engine response and of course the gearbox. You also get an individual mode where you can set your preferences individually for steering, engine and the transmission. The Eco and Comfort modes are ideally suited for city conditions, and they also activate the start-stop system to improve fuel efficiency. The Sport and Sport Plus modes make the engine response sharper, the gearbox holds the revs longer and lets you redline, and the steering gains a little more weight. The various modes also affect the flow and functioning of the air conditioner. Since the C200 won't ship with the Airmatic suspension offered globally, the driving modes do not make any changes to the suspension setup. Our C200 gets a higher ride height though, and it's visible when you look at the car from its side profile. The 17-inch wheels grab attention though, and the 225 section tires look quite meaty. Now globally the C-Class comes with run-flat tires, and so there is no groove or indentation within the boot for a spare wheel. In India, however, run-flat tires don't work, so what you need is this space-saver spare wheel. And so it is mounted here right on the boot floor, and it sticks out like this, reducing a lot of that 480-litre boot space. So if you intend to go on a family vacation with that family luggage in here, you're going to have to leave that spare wheel behind. But your family shouldn't complain. The cabin of the C-Class is the nicest in its segment, or even in a couple of segments higher. It is also the second reason why we call this car a baby S-Class. The segmented dashboard, the flowing and high-rise center console, the tactile switches, the precision-cut Burmester speakers, and the round aluminium finished AC vents are all S-Class kit. The only thing that literally sticks out like a sore thumb is the display of the new generation Command infotainment. I really like the new cabin. It's like a benchmark for this segment, not just for this segment, in fact, even for a couple of segments higher. The whole miniaturization of the S-Class's cabin has really worked very well in the C-Class. But if I had to be nitpicking, there were two things that I did not like. One, this stick-up display. Now, there was an opportunity to do something better. Instead of just having this stick-up like that, if they would have also let me adjust the viewing angle, as per my preference, that would have been better. And the other thing that I don't like is the instrumentation. It looks good, but I think I preferred those floating needles of the earlier Mercedes-Benz instrumentation panels. I'm sure a lot of people will agree with that. But what I do like is that big LCD display right in between those clocks. It's almost as big as an iPhone 6 Plus display. I particularly like the design of the front seats. They are nice and broad. But for someone with a smaller frame than mine, you might want to have the seats to be a little tighter, the side bolstering to be a little tighter. It may feel a little too roomy. But for my preference, I think I like these seats quite a bit.
Since the early models will be completely imported, they are loaded with features like 7 airbags, hill start assist, a premium audio system, keyless entry and go, 3D navigation, leather upholstery, and a panoramic sunroof. You also get the new touchpad interface for the infotainment, but I still prefer the rotary dial.
Despite so many new features that the new C-Class has, it still manages to be 40 kilos lighter than the older C-Class. But out on the road, this one feels heavier, and that's a good feeling. Because like the old C-Class, it doesn't feel squishy. It feels more pressed down to the road. Makes it feel more stable not only at highway speeds but also around the bends.
Despite the higher ride for the India spec model, the C200 doesn't have any unnerving body roll. When you're cornering at high speeds, the new ESP works very well too, as it applies brakes to the inner wheels periodically to make sure that the car feels nimble through the bend. The C holds its line very well even at speed. But that said, the ride quality is as plush as you would expect from a 3-pointed star. It's a revelation really, that a Mercedes-Benz sedan can feel so involving. Time to sum it up then.
Now interestingly, the current C-Class, despite being so old, is still going quite strong. And this car is going to take this success to a whole new level. The engine, the chassis, the space, the features, it's better in all respects. And the way it follows the precedent set by the S-Class, I think Mercedes-Benz cars are going to get exciting in the years to come.